Well, good morning, everybody. This is Grandma Tilly from Grandma Tilly's Tea Time Talk. This is our debut episode. We're just going to kind of wing it. We're not exactly sure what we're doing or how we're going to do it, but the topic we're talking about today is a little too horrifying to pass up. Most of you have probably heard about the debacle on Fox News that pretty much made fun of our community and slighted us to the point that we're not even a real religion. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I wish that we were a call-in show. I'd love to hear your opinions, so I'm going to emphatically request that all comments go into the Facebook topic for this, which is stuck to the top of Grandma Tilly's page. So if you have any questions, we'll just address it ongoing there. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to talk about is the introduction that they made to the entire segment, which I found incredibly offensive and a little bit ridiculous. I'm going to play the clip for you right now, and then we're going to talk about it when it's over.
Is it time to call the PC police? The University of Missouri's religious guide says no exams ought to be scheduled on Wiccan and pagan holidays. That puts those days on par with Christmas and Hanukkah.
Okay, so let's ignore the fact that that segment starts out with police sirens and, I don't know, did I hear a barking guard dog or two? I can't remember. So we are the PC police, and we're going to come after them with handcuffs and billy clubs. No, thank you. That's their game. But we are going to talk about his comments regarding putting our holidays on par with Christmas or Hanukkah, as if that's some kind of a really bad thing. You know, I mean, let's look at Yule. Yule is the winter solstice. It has always been celebrated in December. Christmas is the birth of Christ, and I find it really hard to believe that occurred in December. You know, it's pretty much well-known information among pagans that the Catholic Church, in its infancy, which spanned several centuries, would take existing holidays, and in order to make it easier to convert pagans to Christianity and rule the world with their dominant religion, they would just kind of usurp those holidays that were already in practice, those special events and Sabbats that occurred anyway. So Christmas got moved from the springtime, which is when the shepherds would have been tending their flocks by night, and they move it to Yule, to December, because it had something to do with what we were already celebrating during the winter solstice. So that's the first example. There are many, many more. We're coming up on the season of Ostara, which is, of course, the vernal equinox celebrated and toward the end of March, you know, March 20th, 21st. Easter comes from the Ostara. Now, the symbols for Ostara have always been, you know, fertility and rebirth. And isn't it convenient that, you know, during Easter they celebrate the rebirth of their living God? So, you know, the fact that we want to place our holidays on par, which I find incredibly offensive, with Christian holidays is, you know, completely irrelevant. The fact of the matter is that with religious freedom in this country, regardless of which spirituality you choose to follow, you should have certain things recognized. The next segment that I'm going to play, they talk a little bit about how many Wiccans are there. And listen carefully for the really offensive statement that the guest speaker, a gal named Tammy Bruce, I believe, Tammy Bruce, makes a really offensive comment in this one. So hang on, I'll play it right now.
So here to weigh in is Tammy Bruce. She's a talk radio show host, of course, and a Fox News contributor. Tammy, how many Wiccans are there? Or is that a big religion?
Not many. Maybe you and I should go for it, though, because we'd get a heck of a lot more days off, wouldn't we?
We would.
Suddenly looks appealing.
20% of the holidays listed at the University of Missouri Holiday Guide are Wiccan. What is going on here? That seems bizarre.
Well, you know, it does. I'll tell you, look, I'm a big fan of people living lives that best suit them. And I don't know any Wiccans. I think maybe on a really bad day I might turn into one. I'm not sure.
Okay, so our host here, Mr. whatever, Tucker Carlson, wants to know how many Wiccans there are in the United States. Not that it's really relevant to one's religious freedom. I don't care if there's just one. You need to respect their religious freedom. But according to religionstolerance.org, and this is as of around 2001, there were 750,000 Wiccans, pagans in the United States. Okay, now that does not include 766,000 Hindus, almost a million agnostics, over a million Islam, over a million Buddhists, 2.8 million who participate in Judaism. And we actually outnumber the Unitarian and Universalism sect. So the fact of the matter is there's a crap ton of people out there who aren't Christian or who don't practice along with specifics of Christianity and belong to an actual organized church. So the fact is there are lots of us. There are plenty of us out there who, should be recognized, and some of us don't care. There are probably pagans and witches listening to this broadcast right now who are like, we don't care, live and let live. Okay, some of us do care. From the perspective of someone who's been fired due to religious tolerance, it's affecting my ability to feed my kids. So yeah, it bugs me a little bit when people talk like this. But the really offensive part of that particular clip is Tammy Bruce at the end when she says, on a really bad day, I might turn into one. I think we should all just paint our face green. And if we don't actually have warts, let's buy some and paste them in place. Because obviously, people like her are going to always look at a witch as being a really horrible and awful thing. And that's hurtful to me. That really is hurtful to me. And, with movies and literature and everybody talking about the Wicked Witch, history belongs to the victor. And the people that write history are the ones who are trying to chastise and put the people they've defeated into a certain light. So one of the reasons that I'm going to be doing this broadcast is to kind of show people that, we're right next door. We teach your children. We go to the grocery store with you, and you know what? You've probably had dinner at our house.
Right?
Really
we already
good
know
point.
that.
Well, I'd like to do a poll. Who could name 8 Wiccan holidays? I mean, I doubt your average Wiccan could.
Look, Halloween is the new year, so I guess now you get Halloween off over there at the University of Missouri. So,
okay, I am going to cut it right there for a second. It's interesting that she, brings up Halloween as our new year. It is, okay. I don't like the idea that pagans are lazy and we can't name our own Sabbats. I find that completely ridiculous. There are only 8 of them. A lot of them coincide with specific times of the year: the vernal equinox, the autumnal equinox, winter and summer solstices, and then we have our harvest festivals on top of that, things like this. Starting with Samhain, I will go ahead and do the wheel of the year for you. We're not going to get into what each one means because that's not what this is about. We've got Samhain, we've got Yule in December, we've got Imbolc in February. The Catholics like that one too, by the way. We've got Astara, which is Easter week usually, and if we're going to compare apples and oranges here. We've got May Day, or Beltane, festival in May, Litha. You got Lammas and Mabon. Now, Lammas can be Lanus or Lunas, depending on, which spelling you're going to go with. It depends on your path. So there's only 8. But if we look at that in contrast to, say, Catholicism, specifically, they have a whole lot more holidays on their calendar that are known by a specific name. Now he mentioned 8. Okay, in the other broadcast on Fox News, when Fox and Friends were kind of making light of the whole situation, they mentioned the 20. Now, I'm assuming that that's because they're counting our 12 full moon espats, which are also, holidays, not necessarily high holidays. So let's take a look at the Catholic calendar for this year. I'm counting 17. 17 days specifically mentioned on the Catholic's calendar for 2013. I'm getting this from catholicism.about.com. We've got Mary, Mother of God, Holy Day of Obligation. It's a Tuesday. It was January 1st. Everybody's supposed to go to church. A lot of Catholics don't know this. Ash Wednesday, that's the beginning of Lent. That's going to take place Wednesday, February 13th. And let's talk about revelry for just a second. Pagans are often, seen dancing with Pan in the woods around a fire half naked, or, hey, let's just go for it, clothing optional. Okay, we're dancing out there, we're drinking wine, we're having a party. Mardi Gras came because everybody needed to get the partying out of their system before Lent. Okay, Mardi Gras is a Catholic thing. Okay, that's where everybody goes down and shows their boobies for beads and tears Nola apart every year. And Catholic Church have, Fat Tuesday celebrations before Ash Wednesday every year. Get it out of your system because you're going to starve for the next 40 days and 40 nights. So that's Ash Wednesday. And then we're going to come up on Palm Sunday. Now, that's the day that Jesus rode into into town, and his burro could not touch the dirt because he was so important on that date, and they laid palms down in the streets so that he wouldn't get his feet dirty, and his mule or burro wouldn't get dirty either. So he was on cloud 9 that day. So he comes in on Palm Sunday. Holy Thursday, a few days later, we're doing the Last Supper. We're having some issues now. Things are not looking quite so good. Good Friday comes around. He's tried, convicted, and crucified. Holy Saturday, he's dead. God is dead, and everybody's, supposed to recognize this fact. And then finally on Easter Sunday, he is resurrected. Now, all of that happens right around the time of our Astera season, around the end of March. Now, they count it out exactly by the day, and ours goes more with the vernal equinox, but pretty much celebrating the same things. We're celebrating rebirth and relife. Our symbols for that festival, for Astera, have always been bunny rabbits, breeding like crazy, lambs being birthed in the fields, and the egg, the symbol of fertility from time immemorial. And those are the same symbols that the Christian faiths have usurped and used, trying to either hide among the pagans because the Romans wanted them dead, or because they wanted us to be able to convert to their new mythology much more quickly and with less stress than we would have otherwise. So we skip past that. Now we're into April. We've got Divine Mercy Sunday. We've got the Ascension, which is a holy day of obligation. It is a Thursday, May 9th, 2013. This is counted out by a very specific number of days referenced in the Bible. However, it's not important enough to celebrate on that day because this year it's been transferred to Sunday, May 12th. Okay. Pentecost Sunday comes on May 19th. Trinity Sunday is on May 26th. And Corpus Christi, which is Spanish for the body of Christ, or it might be Latin, for the body of Christ, the corpse of Christ, is also a holy day, usually celebrated on May 30th. It is a Thursday this year, so they've gone ahead and moved the feast to Sunday, June 2nd. You've got the Assumption of Mary. That is on August 15th. It is a holy day of obligation. It's a Thursday. Again, Mary, really important chick in the Catholic Church. Really important to a lot of Christians. Mother of God. She is basically the goddess of their faith. She is the Venus of Willendorf that is their woman to go to. She's their go-to girl. So hers is a holy day of obligation. It's a Thursday. Get your butts in the pews. You don't get to move that to Sunday. All Saints Day is Friday, November 1st. This one's super important because the guest on the Fox show there, Tammy, Bruce, talked about Halloween and how, I guess Halloween is, holy day of, it's important. Everybody's going to get that day off. Well, that is Samhain. It's October 31st. It always has been. It's a really important day for us. I try personally not to make fun of Christmas. Okay, we celebrate it in our home because my partner is an active member, a dedicated member of the Mormon Church. She's LDS. We do Christmas, and I don't have a problem with that. In fact, I enjoy it. So this Assumption of Mary, Holy Day of Obligation, is a Thursday, and you really shouldn't have to take a test on that day if you're Catholic. I just don't see why you'd have to skip church to go to school. Or you should be at least given an allowance to, if your class period for that exam at the University of Missouri is going to be at the same time that they're performing Mass on campus or at a church, off campus, you need to be able to come in and take that test later that day or the next day, because this is a big day for them, the Assumption of Mary. That is the day, when Mary gets taken up into heaven. Because if I remember correctly, Mary did not die. She just got assumed. Okay, so here's All Saints Day coming up on November 1st, day after Halloween, a holy day of obligation. So if our Halloween, to get back on that subject, is a holy day of obligation for pagans, it's that important, All Saints Day, the very next day, is also a holy day of obligation for the Catholics. Again, if you have a test scheduled that day, insist that they allow you to take it the next day. We're moving on to December now. We're getting into the real holiday season here. First Sunday of Advent is Sunday, December 1st. And that is, it's an obligation day because it's a Sunday, but it's not really a specific holiday. The Immaculate Conception is celebrated as a holy day of obligation on a Sunday, December 8th. and Christmas on Wednesday, December 25th, a holy day of obligation. So the whole world shuts down on Christmas Day, pretty much, at least our world in this country. So that's not a big deal. Everything else is falling on a Sunday during the Advent season, so also not a big deal. The fact that our days do not fall on a Sunday, that's something that needs to be addressed, and the University of Missouri is doing a great job with that. They're basically saying, we understand you're not Christian, and you shouldn't have to take a test on a Thursday if it happens to be Samhain. I really don't see anything wrong with that. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the actual question, the actual topic of this show. Should pagans and Wiccans be offended by the establishment's recognition of our holidays? Now, according to the guest, the Tammy Bruce, this next clip I'm going to play for you, she is talking about that very thing, how she is righteously, angry on our behalf. So take a listen to what she says.
It's about pagans and Wiccans being used for a political agenda to downgrade what's important to a majority of Americans. I think that this is an anti-tradition action. I think pagans and Wiccans should be very angry about being used by the establishment. And I think that there should be a backlash of, look, the tradition in this country is what allows people to be pagans and Wiccans and to enjoy their lives freely. Good luck doing that in any other country.
Okay, I don't even know where to start with that one. We don't need her to be angry for us. And if somebody is actually trying to dilute the sanctity of Christianity by recognizing Samhain and Ostera, certainly wasn't us. It was obviously the dean of religion or whoever at the University of Missouri. So let's focus on the question: should pagans and Wiccans be offended by the establishment's recognition of our holidays? I figure the best person to ask about that is someone who's not necessarily pagan, because we're going to turn green and grow warts and cast hexes on people, and she's not. So her name is Becky. She happens to be my partner, and she is a, how would you describe yourself in the LDS Church?
I am a part-time practicing Mormon. I practice my faith and belief in my privacy in my own home, but I do not go to church. I choose not to be seen as a hypocrite, considering my lifestyle is not approved of by the LDS Church. However, I will defend the faith. I may not necessarily defend the religion, or they are two different things to me.
Okay. So that's your background. That's where you're coming from for the purpose of this discussion. Should I be offended? Should I take it personally that some school across the country, and that might set a precedent, and other schools might do the same thing, that I won't have to go to school and my children won't have to go to school on what is a religious holiday for me? Should that piss me off?
No, I think you should be offended that the woman feels that you should be angry. She seemed to be coming across to me as one trying to portray herself as a defender of the poor Wiccans and pagans, and is not giving you folks enough credit for being able to stand up on your own. And pagans and Wiccans, I have found, not just through my association with you, but with others, they're pretty laid back. They laugh at the hilarity of Christians thinking that they need to be saved or defended and things like that.
Right. No, I can agree with that. So I'm glad to know that from a non-Wiccan pagan, because I'm not Wiccan, I'm not initiated into any lineaged Wiccan coven or religion. I'm more of an eclectic, and I have my own way of doing things, like many of us. But I'm glad to know that I'm offended for the right reasons. Because obviously,
yes,
in some people's opinions, I don't know when to be ticked off and when not to be. So I'm glad to know that, because I am mad that she thinks she has to come to our aid, and in such a horrible way that she was obviously not on our side. She thinks we're just as ridiculous as everyone else. At one point, I didn't play the clip, she says, you're going to get looked at funny if you want Halloween off. And, that should not be the case. And obviously she would look at someone funny who wanted to.
Well, and I do understand that. I mean, most of the rest of this country looks at Utah funny for celebrating the 24th of July, which is a Mormon holiday.
Good
but
point.
The entire state takes that day off, whether they're Mormon or not.
True.
And we have fireworks displays and a big parade up there in Salt Lake City. But that is a Mormon holiday. I'm actually kind of saddened to a degree that the Mormon faith is not more traditionally minded. We should have the 6th of April off, because that was the day that Joseph Smith declared was the real birthday of Christ and the founding of our religion from 6 men in a room in New York declaring we're a religion now. So there's several holidays that the Mormons could be taking off, but they don't ask for them because they want to blend with Christianity.
Okay, and that is their prerogative. I mean, that's a decision made by the church. I think that the fact that there really is no established foundation building or a presidency hierarchy within paganism, it's a little bit harder to do that. So it's going to happen on a case-by-case basis. And I applaud the University of Missouri for doing it because it needed to be done. You know,
I agree.
You know, I work a day job. I've got a part-time gig, you know, where I have a boss and I have to punch a clock just like everybody else. And they have no problem on the times that I would like to have May 1st off because that is my Beltane. And, you know, I don't have any problem working Christmas Eve, and I don't give them guff as some of the other employees might because they don't want to work on Christmas Eve. And, you know, to me, that's neither here nor there, you know. We get off at noon. You know, Christmas Eve doesn't start till dinner anyway. So it's not a big deal. So we should not be offended, but this Fox News report really had several elements that ticked me off. Did anything about that, I don't know, raise the hairs on the back of your neck? Anything that...
The entire thing. It was patronizing. It was condescending. The fact that they acted as if they didn't know what they were talking about and yet specifically mentioned the 8 Sabbats of Wicca and paganism. They deliberately were protagonistic and antagonistic, I should say. Needling. They were focused more on ratings and what kind of responses was going to get than actually the story itself. The freedom of religion and the right to have it recognized by the establishment. I am all for separation of church and state. If the school wanted to say no holidays for anybody because there's no religion inside the school, that'd be fine too.
That would be fair, yeah.
It's the true separation. However, if they're going to go this route and recognize the holy days, I don't like the word holiday myself, but the holy days of one religion, then let's recognize the holy days of every religion. But unfortunately, were they to do that, nobody would go to school because I guarantee you every day of the year is somebody's holy day.
True, and I think just to give, you know, Fox News a fair shake, I think that we should outlaw Christianity and make everybody be Wiccan so they can get the 20 days off a year that they're looking for.
I think that's a little extreme.
Okay, I'm kidding. I don't believe that, you know, no hate mail. Okay, I'm just talking in absolutes, kind of the way that they like to talk in absolutes. I found it the most offensive thing about the entire interview I found was in the beginning when she says, and you'd have to go look it up, I don't think I included that clip, is about how, you know, if you're going to pick a religion, you might as well pick the one that's going to give you 20 days off a year. And,
yeah.
and to me, that's just really shallow and horrifying that she said that.
Very disrespectful.
Incredibly disrespectful. And I do think they should issue an apology. I don't know that they're going to, and I don't really care if they do. I think it would be the right thing to do. But it's their karma, you know.
Well, and they seem to enjoy the controversy.
Of course they do. They do. It increases the ratings, and then they get mentions on shows like this. So we're going to wrap it up for today, and the next time that we talk to Becky, I'm sure it's going to be, I don't know, something about our life in general. We've got more shows planned. I'm going to try to do at least one of these a week. We're going to work up to one a day. And on this topic specifically, we want to hear your comments. We want you to just load up that Facebook page. I'm going to send the link out, and we hope to hear from you. We only touched the tip of the iceberg. I know there was more about this interview on Fox News that really raised everybody's hackles, and I want to hear what you think. So please send us an email to tilly@grandmatilly.com, and we'll address it on the Facebook page, or you can just go to Grandma Tilly's Facebook page at facebook.com/Grandma Tilly and comment at the end of this broadcast. Thanks. Have a great day.